Hi guys, Lewted host here with yet another dank stream. Now, today I wanted to focus on something that's been bothering me for about a month. Can you win with a faction's cultural roster? What is a cultural roster, you might ask? A cultural roster is something that is a unit or units that are shared between both factions that are in the same culture as well as other non-playable factions. So, for example, with the Huns and White Huns, they share these two generals. They share uh, Hunnic spears, but the other factions don't. The other steppe factions don't. There's six other steppe factions. I'm not gonna list them, but they don't have Hunnic units. Hunnic units are Hunnic spears, Skiri warriors, the Hunnic warlord, the kindred of the sun, Exoionite spears, Yanda spearmasters, Hunnic dismounted warband, Uar warriors, chosen Uar warriors, Uar archers, Hunnic mounted warband. I think shamans of the external sky are part of the steppe roster. Hunnic horsemen, Hunnic devil cavalry, Nokhors, which is surprising because I thought these guys weren't Hunnic but just steppe. What else? What else? Pretty much Hunnic lancers, elite Hunnic lancers, and first wave lancers. Hunnic mounted bows, Hunnic ambushers, Hunnic horse archers, the Uniguard, Hunnic devil archers, and the artillery is shared with every faction. So yeah, with this, it's pretty hard to win battles, but I actually did win one yesterday. I tried to win one with the Romans cultural roster, but it is extremely hard to do against a good player. And unfortunately, I did get a good player, and my allies were pretty bad. So I might try again anyway. So basically, I used the Huns. This is the cultural roster I chose. Because of how the units are priced, I had to put some chevrons on them. As you can see, steppe spearmen, plus 4 in infantry, steppe warriors, noble artillery raiders, a noble steppe lancers, Avar horde. The Avars are considered steppe, and then the Hunnic, uh, not the Hunnic, steppe warlord. Now keep in mind that it's actually pretty easy to win with this roster. You just have to know how the Huns work. Not how the Huns work, the steppe factions in general. The Huns have more missile damage on their horse archers. That's kind of why I don't use the Avar Horde, because even though they're good, they are better against infantry than the Uniguard for sure, but all they do is they have quick reload, which isn't very useful for the steppe factions in general, because they already have a high rate of fire, and they have axes, which gives them 10 more attack against infantry, combined with, of course, the 5 attack that cavalry get.
This enemy believes they can better us. They think they can match the might of our swords. Well, they do not know what they face. For today, we shall shock the very bones from their bodies. Shock and awe, boys! Shock and awe!
First things first, what does my ally have? He brought Speg Zion archers, which you usually expect. He brought step mounted brigands. This surprised me. Step mounted brigands are very similar to step mounted tribespeople. The thing about these guys that I don't like anymore is the fact that they have low attack. Step mounted tribespeople have more attack against cavalry than these guys do. But if what people have said about how it does increase weapon damage, how the spear does increase weapon damage, is true, then these guys do more damage. Still, the fact that they have precursors doesn't help them that much. I feel that step mounted tribespeople would have been a better investment. He definitely should have invested more into his infantry component because he has 9 cavalry in total, 4 spears here, 2 here, and then 3 kingless condas. I don't like his setup. I just want to get. Oh, he has 2 Hunnic ambushers. I almost forgot about that. I actually wondered why he brought the Hunnic ambushers, but it's his choice. We went up against the Franks and the Garamantians. The Garamantians had a pretty scary roster, but I know how to deal with armored units. Just have to keep them away for a while from your infantry. Now, the biggest problem that I had in this match was the fact that my ally decided to attack
The
who
enemy
I was supposed
engages
to
our
attack.
ally. Do we help?
Brings his cavalry over here, which makes it extremely easy for this army here to rush and hit my flank, which creates a bunch of problems. But he also has Spec-Zion archers here, which can bait for some time. What I would have done, seeing these elite Germanic archers, is I would have gone to range of this one with 2 here, and then this one over here with 2, and take them down efficiently, but by also keeping the shields in front of these guys, and keeping out of range of the Germanic crossbows anyway. But because I wasn't playing as the White Huns, I don't have great shields on my cavalry. The Huns, in general, don't have a lot of armor. The only exceptions are Bosphorian infantry, warriors, and the noble steppe cataphracts. I called them lancers, didn't I? Yeah, so besides that, the Huns don't have a lot of armor to work with. Instead, they rely on good stats and, of course, their horse archers. But like I've said a million times over, the Huns are not as easy as the Romans are in Rome 2. You actually have to have a good understanding of how the nomads work, which you can get from Rome 2. This guy used his units very badly. These guys got massacred by Francisco. However, he actually helped me out a bit. Just a little bit, not too much. Now, what he could have done here, even though I don't agree with what he's doing, is he could have used these units with precision shot. Well, actually, no, not precision shot, because now he's going to be chased by these cavalry. Use his Hunnic ambushers to deal with the elite Germanic archers, but keep out of range of the crossbows because they actually are in range of them. Then what I would have done was, as soon as they start setting up, I would have went into loose formation and pulled out, especially because he does have support. But again, that's just me. Again, he's not using his units very well, but I almost always have to carry a team, so it's not a big deal. I'm kind of used to it by now. I remember the very first time I did it was in Napoleon, where I had to carry because we were, it was a 3 versus 3, I think, and I had to carry my team because of how poor they did. Anyway, so his Hunnic ambushers get chased away. He's firing onto the backs. He's firing onto the backs of these cavalry. Helps take them down a bit. Probably will help me out a bit. He's also running them across archers. And yeah. Oh yeah, that reminds me. he bunches up his Spexine archers, which is a horrible idea because it just makes it easier for noble Numidian cavalry to come in. Now, to stop him from doing this, I sent my Avar Horde here to kind of bait them away from this blob because I knew that if he actually closed the distance, it would have been extremely bad. Now, the Avar Horde, like I said, not my favorite unit, but they are part of the Steppe roster. What I like about the Avar Horde the most is if you do decide to use heavy shot, barrage does help. It's actually called barrage and not quick reload for the Avar Horde, which is weird because it basically does the same thing. Oh no, it freezes fatigue too. But yeah, like I said, it's practically not as useful. But that's just me. So one thing I know about the noble Numidian cavalry is even though they have a lot of health, they don't have a great missile block chance. So always I'm keeping my distance. However, I did make a slight mistake here. I should have ran back farther because this is a very light unit and they're faster. Not by much, but just enough to close the distance. What I should have done was I should have moved these guys back behind the general, but instead I decided to focus fire on them. So he decides to move back, and then I noticed that, so I decide to chase him down. Actually, he's going for this blob. Again, very poor choices. However, because he's turning his back to my Avar Horde, he's essentially going to mess himself over. So he does not get his charge. Then I see this unit of armored camel warriors. I believe I switched. Yeah, I did switch my shot to normal. Actually, let me check because I might have switched it to heavy. I can't remember. Yeah, I switched it back to normal because of the noble Numidian cav. However, I knew these guys were going to start firing on my men. I decided to fire on this unit of armored camel warriors. Meanwhile, because of how bad my position was, I decided to retreat as much as I could. So I didn't have to like micro over here too. However, he did catch me out of position and did some damage, especially to my steppe warriors. So now these guys are in combat. It's better to just fire on these noble Numidian cav because their backs are turned. But my ally's micromanagement was just horrible. Like I was able to micro here and micro here at the same time, while he couldn't and ended up losing most of his cav in a pointless struggle. This is why I think he should have had a better roster. His archery component is pretty good, but at the same time I would not have brought 6. I think that's overkill. And it's really, really bad against armored factions that have a lot of armor. That also couldn't work against the Hun. Who is it? It could work against the Huns if you're playing as the White Huns, but it can't work well against the Romans. It also won't work against the Alans because their good cav have a lot of armor. Their heavy cataphracts have 80 armor, which is the same as the Givan Aspar. I think I said that wrong. So now here I bring my Noble Akadziri Raiders, which again are part of the Steppe roster. The one thing I like about the Noble Akadziri Raiders is they have the heavy spear and they have 65 defense. They also have 40 charge, which helps initially, but they're very bad against lancers. He has 2 here. Now I position my men in such a way that I can tackle this unit and these units as well. I brought my horse archers back here because I noticed that he was pushing up a bit too much, and I didn't want him to start flanking my opponent who was my ally who was losing. So I put myself in a situation where I'm not too far from my ally, but I'm far enough to make him want to push up and start to flank. So when he does decide to flank, like I think he's gonna do right here, I can support. I can't support right now because of the distance, but I can support if he does decide to use these Germanic Spearmasters. That's what I was thinking. But I started microing over here again because these I saw his general get caught in. And I didn't want him to lose his general because if he lost his general and all of these units started to rout, I'd lose instantly. My noble Akinziri raiders go in, get 17 kills because of the precursors. But I did make a slight mistake here. I should have kept these guys a bit farther away, but I was planning on tackling the rear until I saw this unit of armored Campbell warriors. Over here I decided to push up. I'm kind of risking it by bringing them this close. However, I know that the elite Germanic archers have a much less fire rate. He does start to flank over here, which is what I wanted. Not because I wanted my ally to lose, but because it makes it so much easier to route the center. And plus I'm going to help out my ally as I'm doing over here. So when I start to notice that I'm probably causing a bit of friendly fire, I go over here to get this unit of noble Numidian cavalry. Over here I start to focus on the noble Germanic horsemen, but I'm taking some casualties from the elite Germanic archers, who I thought would rout because I thought they would retreat because of my plus foreign infantry coming up, but I think he was microing over here. So over here I did get the noble Numidian cavalry, but the problem with fighting Jav Cav, and I think this is why Jav Cav counters Shock Cav very efficiently, is that when they're in skirmish mode, sometimes they do throw their precursors backwards, and because the game doesn't consider them in combat. So after taking a number of casualties from the archers, I pulled them back. He's doing a very weird flanking maneuver. I would never do something like this, especially because he's going up against the Huns, who could just run around them with circles, run around them in circles with horse archers. I probably wouldn't do this against any faction that has good shock cav. The Huns don't, believe it or not. Noble Steppe Cataphracts are good, but they're not as good as the Sassanids variants. Now, for some weird reason, my opponent thought that going after the Steppe Warriors was a good idea. Now, it kind of was. Here's why. Steppe Warriors are very good at tackling Germanic Spearmasters as second line infantry. The problem is, however, he's focus firing instead of taking out each one individually. And because of this, I can push up if I want to.
The enemy refuses to admit defeat. Their unit has rallied.
My noble Akinziri raiders started to do pretty bad. I put these guys in skirmish mode thinking they would go back, but they didn't. What I should have done was I should have got this unit of noble Germanic horsemen, but I changed my mind afterwards because I was going to push up with my archers here. Now I was still focusing a bit here, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to pull these guys out, so I just kept them there. kept my Noble Ekadziri Raiders in combat with these two units.
The men have broken and are fleeing!
Pulled my Avar Horde back so they could deal with this unit of Noble Germanic Horsemen. But I think I started to fire into my Noble Step Cataphracts. I noticed this unit of Germanic crossbows was isolated. So what I did was I used my general. First I was going to use my general to charge this Noble Germanic Horseman, but I changed my mind seeing the situation. I used my depleted unit of Step Warriors, and I pulled these guys here because I was planning on rear charging these spears. But then I changed my mind seeing this Royal Esther Tunas isolated. Like I said, my original plan was to not make my opponent flank my ally, but he ended up doing it anyway.
They are trying to take out our general! Defend him!
And so I kind of blame myself for that. But as you can see, the gap is pretty big at this point because of the units being over here. I actually, at the time, didn't think it would be that big. But then, of course, the red line, so makes sense. I think by this point my Avar Horde's almost done. Yeah, they're almost done using their arrows, but haven't gotten that many kills.
Grim news! Our allies' general is dead!
Now, this Francisca Hairband is going to try to go for my Step Spearmen. Got 15 kills on that precursor drill, which is pretty bad. Got a very clean charge into the Francisca Hairband. My general did get stuck in these Germanic Spearmasters, and I was trying to pull them out, but I ended up losing a few men in the process.
Our men have given up and are running for their lives!
Now by this point my Avar Horde are pretty much done. My Step Warriors did get to these Royal Esther Tunas, which is what I wanted. And now I have to deal with the Garamantians, but I'm fine because I know how I'm going to win this. See, the Garamantians have a very weak infantry corps, even though it looks like they don't. Now, the Frankish general shouldn't have charged me like this, but my allies should not have used flaming shot. Well, actually, come to think of it, Noble Step Cataphracts do have 50 base armor, and the Frankish general has 27, so I just had about over half. But my problem was, because he did that, because he used Flaming Shot, I was thinking he's going to end up making my men rout first, because they were being hit in the back. But now that I think about it, it's probably a better idea, because the only way he could have gotten past and shot in the back is if he charged into this unit of elite Germanic archers. But I don't know what his thought process was. So this unit of Germanic Spearmasters blocked my Avar Horde from being able to flank and destroy the rear. So what I did was I used a unit of Step Spearmen to bait them, because I'm not going to use them to charge, obviously. Just bait them and hopefully draw them out so I can get past them. So over here the Frankish general dies.
The general has fallen! Our victory grows ever nearer!
The Garamantian general still alive. I pull my Step Cataphracts out to deal with these elite Germanic archers. which was a good play because these noble Germanic horsemen are actually stuck. And I think the Garamantians DC'd by this point, so I knew I could win this still. So when I saw this, I could either charge the rear of these Germanic Spearmasters, which will end up me probably losing the general, because if he activates Headhunt, then that's it. But by this point, I'm focusing over here. See, at first I thought these Steppe Spearmen wouldn't stand a chance, but then I saw the Desert Chieftain get in, and I'm thinking to myself, oh, I can just kill the general right here, because these spears are focused over here with my own Steppe Spearmen. Use the Avar Horde to charge into the back of them, even though I might end up losing my Avar Horde in the process. Use these Steppe Cataphracts to charge into these guys, which I did. And then that's pretty much the battle.
The men are broken and running for their lives.
Yeah, by that point those spears routed. These guys lost 9-10 men on the charge. Not too good, but understandable. And then I used my Avar Horde to clean up house, hitting the backs of these men. The general did die, like I thought. And that was practically the battle. These Germanic Spearmasters would have been next anyway, so that was pretty much it. And the Franks quit. Now that's the Nomads. Relatively easy, not complicated at all. Their roster is pretty good. What about the Romans? I tried it yesterday, like I said, but just did not work out. So what would a Roman roster look like? When I say Roman, I don't mean like DLC, like Roman Expedition. I mean East and West Roman. Because the Roman Expedition doesn't have the same roster. They have Fotorati, Scudetoi, and then Tisignani. They do share Preventors and Explorators, but they cost more because they're statistically different. The Armored Secretari are only given to the Eastern Roman Empire in them. And their Funditores cost less. So I look at the Western Roman Empire's roster to determine which one, what is faction specific and what is cultural specific. All of the generals are available to the Romans. They're not available to the Ostrogoths. Limitani bodyguards are Western Roman Empire specific. Comitatensis spears, and that's it for spears. Cohors, Palatina, Legio, Preventores, Protectores Domestici, and Legio Comitatensis, Sagittari, Ballistari, Elite Ballistari, Funditores, Levis Armaturae. I think one of these, let me check. Noble Fotorati Javelin men are definitely not cultural specific. Oh, it's just, yeah, I had a feeling it was just Levis Armaturae. These three are only for the Western Roman Empire. Scout Equites, Equites Dalmate, Equites Promodi, Scalae Palatine, Cantari, yes, Catari, Cataphractari, and yeah, that's it for them. The Western Roman Empire. I remember when I got played Attila, like when I played the demo, not the demo, the free when it was free for the weekend, and I thought that the Western Roman Empire was much weaker than the Eastern Roman Empire, and I think up until the fact, up until when um, they were given Shield Wall, they were, because it was really hard to play as the Romans in multiplayer, is what I heard. So that's the cultural specific units for the Romans. In theory, this means that the Roman expedition doesn't really have a cultural specific roster, which makes sense because they are a DLC faction. I'm gonna try to win with a Roman culture roster again. I actually could have won yesterday, but then my allies, kind of messed me over. But I don't always blame my allies. I was partially to blame too. Because I let the AI charge into my crossbows. Now this is the what I had. I think I had 3 elite ballistari. The, the Western Romans don't have a great skirmisher choice. Oh yeah, I didn't bring these guys. So now, usually I consider this to be a pretty bad setup, but this is what a culture-specific roster would look like. Elite Ballistari are available to every Roman faction. Equites Promoti, Cataphractari, Legio Comitatenses, Protectors Domestici, and Comitatenses Spears. The Eastern Roman Empire doesn't have access to these 3 units, and the Western Roman Empire doesn't have access to they don't have access to Eastern Auxiliary Palatina, Lanciarii Seniores. And I think that the pikes, the cavalry, and the tankiness of the Eastern Army Legio make the Eastern Roman Empire much better overall. They're so much better in so many categories. Like the Western Roman Empire doesn't have pikes. The Western Roman Empire does have Armigeri Defensoras. They excel in swords, but that's it. I mean, technically they also excel in javelin men and crossbows, but you have to actually let your opponent get up close and personal before you can even consider using them. Crossbows are easier to use than javelin men, and they have more ammunition. But javelin men can tackle. They can tackle shock cav more efficiently. Crossbows are more for armored units, but they excel at tackling armored infantry. Himyar does have a number of they do have a number of armored units. They have Athar's Chosen. Athar's Chosen isn't a high armored unit though. Armored Camel Warriors, they have that shock cav that is an armored camel unit. And
Elite Ballistariae!
that's pretty much it.
Missile infantry at your command! Legio comitatenses! Ave! Elite Ballistariae!
I think I'm gonna switch up my
Protectores domestici!
my formation. The last time I had the spears in front because of the risk of shock cav decimating them, decimating my main line. This time I'm gonna switch it up.
Equites promoti!
Now, obviously,
Ready and
my
working.
my weakest category. That's what I'm trying to say. My weakest category is cavalry, in a cavalry-dominated game. Not even spears because these guys are tanky, but I don't have what it takes to stand up to Himyar's cav. Now, what I do have, though, is a number of swords that can deal with most of their infantry. The only units that it can't deal with are the Anthar's Chosen. That's all I can think of. They have a unit that has like a ton of armor but low defense, so that might be a problem with what I have here.
Magister Militum!
By all the gods! What a collection of brigands, thieves, and desert scorpions! And they call themselves an army? Well, men, we shall soon show these eastern imposters what a real army does! Stand ready!
Alright,
Riders on me!
3 javelins, Rumah skirmishers, okay. Asham, pretty dangerous unit. They have 50 missile block chance. However, I'm sure my crossbows can deal with them. Himyarite Shadowlie. Gotta be careful of these guys, because they don't have a lot of armor, but they have good defense. However, if I'm correct, yeah, I can beat them with my Equites promoting. So that's not a big deal. San Hin Goriam. These are the guys that have a lot of defense, but not a lot of armor. 28 armor is pretty good, but you have to be careful of fighting these guys in shield wall.
Protectores domestici!
So, the most important thing I want to get off of this field is the cavalry, because they're all camels. And like I said in my Attila guide, camels are very good at tackling heavy units because they can pierce through them with like a lot of ease. Better than shock cavalry, that's for sure.
Militum!
Also, there's the fact that he has a bunch of skirmishers, and I only have 3 crossbows. And I think I've said this before, but crossbows are not effective skirmishing units. They're more for tackling. They're better at tackling armored units. None of his units do have enough armor, except the Zafar Sentinels, but I can't focus fire them. So, here's what I'm going to do. This is the side where his Himyarite Shadowlie are. So, if he... yeah, he's going to do it. What he's going to do is he's going to separate his cavalry in such a way that they're going to be over here, and everybody does this. Everybody's guilty of this, so he's going to put them here. He's probably not even going to use them against my own cav, but I'm going to leave them there and pay attention to them closely.
Riders, move out!
Yeah, I had a feeling.
Equites promoti! Riders, advance! Magister Militum! Protectores domestici! Double time! Attacking Testudo!
Now, Why he's using his javelin men over here is beyond me. Obviously, I can't charge them now. They have a lot of health.
Elite Balistariae! Ready!
What I'm going to do is I'm going to use this unit. Just paying attention.
Elite Balistariae! In service of Rome! Get them, any of them!
These 2 units of crossbows are going to deal with these units.
Ready! Commander!
Legio Parati! Legio Comitatense!
Notice how I'm keeping my units very close to each other. This is what the Romans excel at. I think I said that a bunch of times.
Elite Balistariae!
Your orders! Advance at speed!
In the name of... Hidden units! Watch out!
Anyone!
The enemy has been spotted! Close ranks! Raise shields!
Equites promoted! Advance!
Hey, Tribunus!
Quickly now!
Roma Infinita!
Riders at the double!
Elite Balistariae!
Comitatenses!
Engage!
Advance at speed! Equites promoted! Glory! Legio Comitatenses! At the double!
At the double!
Oh shoot,
Melee troops!
I forgot about that.
Legio Comitatenses!
So it's not just...
The men are broken and running for their lives!
I completely forgot that unit existed.
Ready waiting! Advance at speed!
Equites promoted!
This unit's gonna rout, these 2 units are gonna rout.
Elite Balistariae!
At the double! Equites promoted! Missile infantry at your command!
Loose! Elite Balistariae! Hail!
I completely forgot that Himyar have Zealot Sicaris, or else I wouldn't have kept my, I wouldn't have put my Protectores Domestici so close, close to, with no support. Because I thought it was the Tanukids that had them. But that's okay. Still came off with a win. I'm not gonna keep that because it wasn't that good of a win. Gonna use the same roster. Even though I'm not very comfortable with it. Because the Romans do have good crossbows. Oh. Give me 1 second, guys. this setup is actually pretty scary against the Burgundians because the Burgundians do have double-handed axes. The Burgundians do focus on javelin men, but the Burgundians also have scattershot hurlers. The Burgundians also are Germanic, so they have the Germanic roster. The Burgundians have good shot cav. Crossbows are almost always in the back, but this time they'll be the third line, just because most of the time you want them near the front lines, so when you do start firing on enemy units, they're in a good enough position to start like doing damage and not like all the way back here, so by the time you run up here and put them either behind or in front of your front line, they can't fire because the front line's already fighting. That actually did happen to me once, where I had my crossbows, but I wasn't able to use them because I was too slow. So ever since that happened, I have just kept them somewhere close. Don't want them all the way in the back, and most of the times you don't want them in the front. However, I might actually have them in the front if they don't have any slingers or archers, which, even though the Burgundians don't focus so much on the archers but rather their javelins, it's what I've usually seen is people will bring the archers because they're more comfortable with Germanic archers. Personally, as the Burgundians, I don't recommend using the Germanic archers just because they focus much more on shorter range skirmishing. Their javelins are effective at taking out infantry and cavalry, but their barbed lances and their barbed spear aren't. The barbed lance does do more damage though.
By all the gods, I think I'm the luckiest man alive. I have you to command, and prospect of a glorious victory. I thank the gods for these gifts. Now, the victory awaits our efforts.
Magister Militum! Roma Invicta!
See, I swear everybody does this. Oh, and I did say not to spam shot cav, but you know what? It's okay. See, I'm pretty sure he did this the last time I fought him, and I still beat him. Here's what you have to do. Protect the crossbows. Position your infantry in a way where they can still fire on the flanks of the Burgundian axemen, but keep the spears in handy because they're going to be very useful for defeating the Royal Lancers. You have 2 Germanic archers, which are good.
At your service. Quickly now! Riders, advance! In service to Rome! For Rome! Etiam!
I'm not gonna run. Doesn't make sense. See, what I could do because of how he's put his cavalry is I could just use 4 of my cavalry here on these Royal Lancers instead of having them meet up and then see, people make the same mistake all the time. Oh, I thought I charged with those guys.
Riders advance! Hunt them down! Charge! Comitagenses! Ready and waiting. Advance! Spears ready. Back! Back! Withdraw!
The men have thrown down their weapons and are fleeing!
Back, men! Back! Advance at speed! Extempore! Protect your eyes! Don't withdraw! Never surrender! Cats of Fractoriae! Fires at the double! Legio Comitagenses! Elite Ballistariae! Mohos Polati! Victory for Rome! Legio Comitagenses! Elite Mandata Tua! Missile infantry at your command! At the double! Your order!
The men are broken and are fleeing!
Protect your eyes, Domestici! Legio Domine! At speed! Riders advance! Elite Ballistariae! Comitagenses! We obey! Obedience! Advance at speed! Elite Ballistariae! Protectorate Domestici! Shield wall! Take off! Ready and waiting. Quickly now! Engage! For glory! Comitagenses! Advance at speed! About time!
The men have thrown down their weapons and are fleeing!
Stariae! Quick march! At speed! Roma invicta! Equites promoti! Comitagenses! Elite Ballistariae! Pull back! Roma invicta! Now! Attila! By your command! Orders! Yours to command! Legio Comitagenses! March! Hail! Understood! March!
Our men return to the fight!
On my order! Draw! Orders! Understood! Elite Ballistariae! Land Butler! Quick instruction! Get moving! By your commands! Protect your eyes, Domestici! Ready for orders! Yes, Commander! Legio Comitagenses! At speed! Halt now!
Enemy forces have struck our general down!
Comitagenses!
The men are wavering! The men are broken and running for their lives!
Missiles ready waiting! Legio Comitagenses!
Alright, fair enough. It's pretty hard to win with what I have here, but it's possible, so I'm going to try again. Okay, so there's not much of a difference between Palatina and Protector's Domestici. So what I might do is I might use, I might use a very similar roster. There's never anybody to fight it against, so I do want to look it over. I definitely would not bring cohorts. But it does suck that the only spear unit that is with the culture is Comitatus spears. Like, they don't have like another spear unit. That's why I said that the Romans are the hardest. Of course, I was a bit sloppy with what I did, but most of my success comes from my units. But I can't always expect my units to be good. I should have spread these guys out. You know what? I'm going to stick with the Protectores Domestici. I'm going to stick with the same roster, because it didn't work that one time. However, what I could do is, if this goes over, yeah, it will. I can bring 2 Palatina and then stick with this. Because the Ballistari do work, it's just that you have to somehow use them in an efficient way. And that's the hard part. But I'm sure I can do it. I'm going to try again to win with them. I've never really used Palatina in a multiplayer battle. In fact, I've never actually used them. In my Western Roman Empire campaign, I went straight from these guys to Protectores Domestici, and then from Protectores Domestici to Armigeri Defensores. Which in theory is an upgrade, because Armigeri Defensores are better in melee, but they have less health and armor. Still much more cost effective. Protectores Domestici are better than Palatina and everything, but they're also very heavy, so they're supposed to be used in the center. I'm gonna try to do this a bit less sloppy. That was definitely my fault. Hopefully it won't happen again though. Now all we have to do is actually find somebody. Oh, I just realized I forgot to say good game to the other guy. Oh well, I'll probably see him again. But he did the same thing and I beat him. I was using the Romans though. Maybe I was using the Franks. And I definitely didn't hamper myself with this army. Wow, that's it. All they have is Legio Command Senses only have 8 more attack and 3 more defense and 2 more health. That's ridiculous, actually. I should have stayed away from the Cataphractari because they only have a charge bonus of 204 and I went up against a charge bonus of 270. If I were smart, what I would have done was I would have used my shock cav to charge into the spears when they weren't braced, but when they were right in front of the... Actually, no, that would be dumb too because I have precursors. And then I ended up having to charge too when I could have just used my crossbows. What I should have done was I should have flanked the spearmen, have his Burgundian axemen charge my shock cav. They'd get damaged, and then have my crossbows fire on the Burgundian axemen, and that would have probably made me beat his left flank. Instead, I got a bit sloppy and tried to tackle a unit that I shouldn't have. But like I said, that was definitely my fault, and I'm gonna try to do better. Even though I've been playing these games for like 6 years, I make sloppy mistakes. It's just, you have to learn from them and do better. That's all I can think of. So, last time I made the mistake of being compact. One thing I've been good at though in Attila is spreading out. I've done it in Rome too and it works really well. Covering ground is pretty good, but covering too much ground is not.
Loose formation! Yes, Commander!
What should be in front? Let's put the Legio Comitatensis in front, followed by the spears. Because my spears are going to flank this time. One thing I tend to forget is that these guys are good against anything but shock cav and infantry in prolonged engagements. And then these guys here, general in between. And then I'm going to operate on the flanks. They all have heavy shots, so that's good. Gonna be useful for taking down his armored units.
Ha!
Sometimes I really wish these guys didn't look barbaric. I don't know.
Magister Militum! Today is the day of battle that we prayed would come. Take up your weapons and make your farewells. Some of you will die in what follows, but our people will have victory. We await your command. Yes, I am. Legio.
He has 3 crossbows just like myself, Foderati spears, Western Auxilia Palatina. These guys are going to be very detrimental because they don't have armor but they have precursors. Well, they have 40 armor, but if I am correct, most of it is in the shield. Yeah. So they do have a decent missile block chance. It might be 40, it might be 50, I actually don't know.
They have some honor then.
No, it's 40. Cornelius Senoras Palatina. Cohors. Why aren't the cohors in front of the Foderati spears? That's what I'd like to know.
There's enough killing today for everyone.
The Ballistari, Ravenna Elite Ballistari, and Ballistari. Why he brought this and a bunch of shock cav, which, like I said, the Western Roman Empire is better at swords. You know, he brought like 4 swords, but he brought the weak ones. I brought Legio Comitatensis, which can hold off against these shock... No, not the shock cav. It can beat most of these units. The Palatina will be a problem. Oh, I didn't even notice I was moving.
Forward! In service to Rome!
Now, because it's only 3 units, there will be some problems. There won't be as many problems, rather. Obviously, I can't charge these units. He's going to lose formation. But he needs to bring up this unit of Ballistari, or else he's going to lose the coming engagement. He's also putting his Foderati spears. He should have just retreated them, put these guys in defensive testudo so they don't get hurt. Withdraw his cohorts, but he's not going to, so. How close am I? Yeah, that's the red line. So here's how it's going to work.
At speed! Happy to serve Rome! Ready! In the name of Rome! Comitatensis! For Rome! Group disbanded! Elite
Oh shoot,
Ballistari!
we put these guys.
Hit your targets, men! Missile infantry ready! At the double! Elite Ballistariae! Sic Domine!
These Foderati spears are going to get massacred. His Ravenna Elite Ballistari only got 5 kills, which actually surprised me equally. He's not using them right. See, I'm using heavy shot because of
Enemy
these
units have been
guys, but they
rallied.
should have been defensive testudo.
Legio!
He should have charged this. Because again, I'm not spreading out. But he's giving me just enough time to spread out these units, so that's fine.
Fallen guards!
Elite Ballistarier! At speed! Orders understood! Double time!
Come on, guys.
Take formation! We obey!
At the double! Advance at speed!
I might actually use this unit too.
In service to Rome! Elite Ballistarier!
Advance at speed!
Ready and waiting. Against them, any of them!
Comitatenses! Advance at speed!
Elite Ballistarier! At your service! As you command!
At speed! Legio Comitatenses! Equites promoted! Quickly now!
Fire! Mars aid us! Elite Ballistarier! Missile infantry! Victory for Rome!
Comitatenses! Many troops awaiting orders! By your command!
Advance!
I have no clue what he's trying to do.
Register militum! Prepare for impact! The enemy is going for our general! Protect him! Legio Comitatenses! Defensive testudo!
Extempo!
Missiles awaiting targets!
Comitatenses!
Attack! To Rome!
I'm not sure what he's trying to do.
Roma invicta!
By your command! About time!
He's just gonna try to rush through all my units.
Pull back! The men have thrown down their weapons and are fleeing!
That's what it looks like.
Ballistarier! Roll this mother to us all! Break off! Dominate!
At the double!
Now, by this point, it doesn't really matter what I do. I've already won. So, just bring these guys over.
Cohors Parati! Dominate!
Missile infantry ready!
Legio Comitatenses!
Palatina! Advance at speed! Missile infantry! Elite Ballistarier! Whoosh! Back now! Pull back! Break off! Back now! Glory for Rome!
Equites promoti! Legio Comitatenses! Legio Comitatenses! Equites promoti! March! In the name of Rome! Legio Comitatenses!
I actually would have won that no matter what, but I just let him go through my units just to see what would have happened. I was kind of surprised that it was working, but should I really be surprised? I'll save that anyway. Just because, why not? Alright, which roster is next? The German one. Germanic nobles are showed through with every faction, and that's about it for the generals. So we'll start off with that. Germanic levy, Germanic spearmen, Germanic spearmasters, Germanic pikes, noble, Germanic swordsmen, Germanic band, Germanic warband, all of these archers, the crossbows, the slingers, the Germanic brigands, all of the cavalry surprisingly, even the Typhali cavalry, Germanic lancers, Germanic mounted brigands, Germanic raiders, Germanic knight raiders, and the artillery. Guess I'll have to just start another battle. It's fine. Mind at all. I would use Germanic pikes, but for now I'm going to stick with what I'm good with. Five spears, 3 swords, 4 warbands. I wouldn't use lancers. Never. Oh, I only have 2 archers? Thought I had another. This is a good culture setup. Basically, 5 spears help out just in case I lose the cavalry fight. Then you have Well, in this case, I probably won't. Seems like we're gonna have a change of plans. All of the Venetians Jav Cav are weak in melee, so it doesn't really matter what Cav I use. As long as it's not Germanic Horsemen, because when these guys get hit with poison arrows, they're done for. But these guys, not so much. They still have a good amount of melee defense. This setup still works, so I'm going to keep it. Actually, I can switch these guys, but I can't switch these guys, so I will give them the experience. So I have 4 Germanic Spear Masters, 1 Germanic Spear Men, 3 swords, 4 axes, 3 Germanic Archers, 4 Typhali Cav in my general. See, I don't mind people using Poison Archers because people use Shock Cavalry, and Shock Cavalry are overpowered. So what difference does it make if somebody uses Poison Arrows? The reality is they're both overpowered and people are going to use them anyway. I'm taking a huge gamble with the Noble Germanic Swordsmen. Because they only excel in shield wall. I'm gambling on the fact that he doesn't have a lot of axes. If he does, then the Noble Germanic Swordsmen are going to be so counterproductive. But then I'll also have to change up my tactics because I'm using a lot of Typhali Cav. Now, I've used the Germans a bunch of times, but I've never used a fully Germanic roster. So, what is it going to look like this time? There's really no point of spraying these guys out. When one of them gets hit, they all get hit. Gotta keep them spread out just close enough so they can support each other, but far enough so that they don't all get hit. These guys can stay close because they're not going to be too bad. And then my Cav. Oh yeah, I forgot to put in the swordsmen. Put them back more. I'm gonna move them again. The general will be behind this one. 3. Because I kid you not, they have poison arrows. Which is fine, I don't mind. Again. Usually I wouldn't spread them out like this, but this time I am going to.
I am angry today, men. Furious that these weak-livered girl children have chosen to stand in our way. I want to see their guts strewn before me. Cut them down, or I'll take my anger out on you lots.
Fearless warriors! Run, crush you! Get running! All right,
Here's the funny thing. This guy is using all shields. I should have known something was off.
Our men have given up and are running for their lives. Enemy units have rallied and returned to the battle. Understood. Faithfully, cavalry. Aye.
Come on.
Horses love blood. As you say. Would that be now? Orders! The men have broken and are fleeing. Swift horsemen! Noble swordsmen! Cavalry! Quickly now! Ah! Our men have given up and are running for their lives. We hunger for blood and... Scrubbers ready! Run, curse you! Warband! Battle ready and eager! Faithfully cavalry! Warriors eager for blood! Noble! men are broken and are fleeing. Warman! Ready for battle! Kill! Kill! Move it! Battle wallow! As you say, battle ready! Run! Forward! We hunger for blood and battle! Our men flee the field of battle. This is a shameful display. Mounted death! Noble swordsman! Yeah! Rah! Forward! Forward! Kill! Move it! Our forces have found their courage! Back to the fight! Battle! Mounted warriors! Dart! Ready! Ah! Warriors eager for blood! As you say! The tide of battle turns in our favor! Our general is under attack! Cavalry cavalry! Gotcha! Riders! Forward! Get ready! Run! Forward! Battle ready and eager! Cavalry cavalry! Forward! The enemy general is fallen!
That's a good game. I'm still upset that my Typhali Cav got caught by those archers, or else I could have probably won a lot quicker. His axes did good, but everything else was pretty bad. His Jav Cav did okay though, so I'll give him that. Now, there's also the Norse and Celtic rosters. I'm not gonna do those because it's a bit, I don't know, I just don't feel too comfortable experimenting with those ones. And then there's the Eastern roster, which differs because the Sassanids and the Desert factions are not similar at all. Like, the only units that all of them share, if I'm correct, well, the Lakhmids and the Sassanids are very similar. I know if I'm correct, they all share Persian hurlers. Oh no, it's just... Oh no, that's right, they have desert hurlers. Armenian slingers are shared between the Sassanids and Lakhmids. So there might be a slight difference between Sassanid, like Sassanid, which is Eastern Empire, and the desert factions. The biggest difference I've noticed is camels, but there's other differences too. The Sassanids and the other desert factions, besides the Lakhmids, have like no similarities, so I can't play as them. So I have to go to the desert factions. The desert chieftain and warlord are similar. Desert spears are shared with every faction, every desert faction. Desert tribesmen are, but and so are Kushite Shodalai, I think. Because if they weren't, then no, they're not. I thought the Garamantians had them. No, they don't. That's right. That's why they were weak. The Tanukids do, but the Garamantians don't have them. So I can't use Kushite Shodalai. Not every faction has axes. Desert bowmen, Asham, elite Nubian archers. The Garamantians don't have them. They have Garamantian hunters. Desert hurlers, I think all of them have them. Yeah, they do. All do. So I can use that. Camel warriors, they all have. Armored camel warriors, they all have. Camel lancers, they all have. Desert mounted skirmishers and javelin, they have. But they don't all have Kushite Shodalai, so that kind of ruins everything. But who knows, maybe I can still win without using them. It's just going to be extremely hard. I'm going to give it a shot anyway. I'm going to give it a shot. I can bring 4. No, I could bring... Yeah, no, I can't. If I took out all these guys... Yeah, I can bring 4. I was thinking to myself, I can't bring 4 if I do that, but I can. So I'll do that. Rather have 4... But this is a bad setup. But it's okay. Okay, now we have a bit more money. Not gonna get another unit of archers. 260. I don't think there's anything else I can yet, so. Well, I guess we'll just upgrade the general.
Orders, my lord. Missile!
So I'm gonna do a regular setup of spears in front, archers behind them, and then melee units behind that.
Armored camel warriors!
Most of my killing is gonna come from these guys anyway. These guys are just there to damage any units that need damaging or skirmish with units that need skirmishing.
Melee cavalry! My lord! We will darken the skies! Tribesmen! We await your orders!
Will then stand against us if every man is a hero. Prepare for action.
What are your orders? Riders and...
Noble Foderati Javelin, man.
Ha ha!
So in theory, we're gonna I'm gonna have a lot of problems. However,
We have discovered the enemy's hidden units.
see, I don't mind. I don't mind art, to be honest. They both brought art, so.
We are at your command.
If you wanted to pull this off, you should have played as the Sklavs.
Our ally is attacked. Should we aid them?
Because this is not going to end well for Slavic ambushers. Yeah, he did catch me off guard with this, but at the same time, I knew how to react to it. So, there's that. Now, he didn't bring a lot of good units. These guys going to shield wall and build tanks, so I have to be careful of that.
Warlord! Quickly now! Battle group disband!
Open the ranks! At speed! At the double! Quick march!
One thing that I like about Desert Bowmen is that even though they don't have precision shot, they do have rapid advance, which is very useful in sieges. I found.
Quick march!
Shouldn't have done a 3v3 and then have it in such a bad such a bad map. Pretty close to my favorite. Okay, so this is going to be pretty difficult. Because I'm going to try this against the Huns. Can't use Kushite Shadalai because, like I said, they're not available to the Garmantians. Arabic horsemen are also not available to the Garmantians, so you can't use that. Might as well. It's a bad setup, but it could work. The javelin men are supposed to skirmish. What did I want to do? I wanted to check how good I'm doing on time. Just about 2 hours. Fair enough. That means it's like 2:50 or it might be 3 o'clock. So basically after this battle I probably will have to end the stream. But I just wanted to stream this because I thought it was worth a try. Try to challenge myself, I guess.
Our aim is true.
And I'm also doing a Burgundian campaign.
Spears!
I think I streamed it yesterday, but
Spears at
didn't
your
really go
command!
over it.
Tribesmen! We will darken the skies! Missile infantry ready!
I'm gonna have to be aggressive.
Mounted javelin men! Cavalry! Missiles ready!
I have 9 infantry units, 3 foot skirmishers. I'm gonna have 2 javelins, 5 camels,
What are your orders?
and my javelin.
Warlord!
Trust me, I don't like this setup at all, but it can work, so I'm not upset.
These big dogs are beneath us, beneath our contempt. Let us punish their insolence with terrible retribution. Answer their arrogance with spears thrust and arrows flight. Send this craven swine fleeing. Make ready.
Melee cavalry! Riders advance!
Mounted javelin men.
Riders advance! Quickly now! At your command! Advance at speed!
Armored camel warriors.
Forward! Kyrie! Quickly now! Melee cavalry awaiting orders! Keep this formation! Disband the group! Forward! Quickly now! Riders at the double!
Armored camel warriors.
My camel's
Advance
here.
at speed!
Mounted javelin men. Pirate!
That's what I was
Quickly
going
now.
for.
Riders, advance!
Advance at speed! Forward! Awaiting orders!
Riders at the double!
Riders! Advance! Advance at speed! Quickly now! Forward!
Riders at the double!
Forward! Cut them down! Forward!
Riders at the double!
Riders! Advance!
Riders at the double! Armored camel warriors!
Riders at the double! Orders! Loose! We are at your command! Silent formation! Fight!
Our men have given up and are running for their lives!
Advance at speed! Forward! Riders! Advance! Armored camel warrior!
Armored camel warriors!
What are your orders? Armored camel warrior! Riders, advance! Forward! Orders, my lord!
Mounted javelin men! The men are broken and running for their lives!
Forward! Armored camel warriors! Quickly now!
Armored camel warriors!
Quick word! Quick march! Missile! Armored camel warriors!
This game always disappoints me, I swear.
Warlord! Riders at the double!
Should have won a lot quicker than that.
Armored camel warriors!
Melee infantry!
The enemy is going for our general! Protect him!
Forward! Rear! Oi! Warlord! Advance at speed! Quickly now! Warlord! Hellos! Taxis! Tribesmen! Cut up the power! For honor! March! Warlord! Back, men! Back!
The men are broken and are fleeing!
Riders at the double! Quickly now!
The men have thrown down their weapons and are fleeing! Have given up and are running for their lives. The enemy are losing their advantage!
I really need to step my game up.
What are your orders? Forward!
Our men flee the field of battle. This is a shameful display.
Spears ready! Back with back!
Enemy units have rallied and returned to the battle. Their general is dead! A lethal blow!
As embarrassing as this is, I practically won just using sheer numbers. I didn't even need the bows. We lost the same amount of men, but that's just because he charged my bows. Still, a bit disappointing on his part. I did pretty bad with my javelin men and was forced to charge with them. So I think he could have done a little bit better, but doesn't matter. That's pretty much it, guys. Thanks so much for watching, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Bye, guys.